Hello, and welcome to our Marketing Monday live stream. It is good to have you here. If you are joining live, my name is Maneksha, and I'm the host of Marketing Monday. Awesome. So it had a 0 there on StreamYard for a little while, so I was just making sure that I am live and people can see. Do let me know in the chat where you're joining from. And I'm just going to make sure that things are showing up over on Facebook. They are, so that's great. We are here to talk about content repurposing for our Marketing Monday session. And I've got some slides again this week. Last week I had some slide-based delay. That meant we were talking head energy. And then today we're going to be looking at, it's a bit meta, but we're going to be looking at how I used repurposed content to do today's Marketing Monday. And I'm going to show you the sort of process for that as well. So let me share my screen. Hello from Minnesota. The way it really is twin mom blog. Andrea Yorston, interior designers in Market Harborough. I go through Market Harborough all the time because my mum lives in Nottingham. So I will wave at you next time I go through on the train. Cindy is tuning in from Florida. Annie is here from Cheshire. It's good to have you joining. I'm going to present and share my screen. And then we're going to dive in. So we're going to talk about marketing with the lazy way, but not lazy. Let's present and get started. Feel free, as always, to ask any questions that you have in the chat. This is a question-friendly zone at all times. And obviously, if there is something that you have a specific contextual question about, that is the joy of being live, is that I can answer your contextual questions as well. So it's not just irrelevant content that you have to connect your own dots for. So Ick-Free content repurposing is a repurpose of a workshop that I have taught for a number of years now, actually, on how to set up efficient marketing systems that use your creative energy for the things you actually want to be doing in your business. But specifically today, we're going to be talking about how you can feel good about repurposing your content, because one of the big bottlenecks that people have often is that they don't want to post the same thing too many times, or they don't want to seem like they're repeating themselves. And we can kind of get stuck in a little bit of a cycle of like, I must have an original thought or my marketing is not valid. But we don't need to feel like it's a bad thing to repeat ourselves if we are taking a customer-centered approach to our marketing. And so we're reframing the idea of repurposed content to be that like fundamentally you're talking about the things that your customers need to hear. And so you don't need to feel icky about it. You don't need to feel like it's you should be spending more energy or more effort. The energy and effort goes into the sort of strategic understanding of who your customers are, and then you can talk about the same thing for 4 years, however long it's been that I've been talking about repurposing your content. So my name is Maneksha. I am a professional nerd. I work in marketing and AI, and I created Marketing Magic, which is an AI-powered business growth tool that helps you unsubscribe from overwhelm and grow your business instead of your to-do list. And it's awesome. So I will be showing you how I repurpose my content today, and I will be using Marketing Magic for that, because it is one of the tools that I've used to repurpose my own stuff. But I would love to hear from you how much time you spend writing things from scratch in your business and your marketing at the moment. So let me know in the comments how much time you are spending writing things from scratch. I'm going to make my screen a bit smaller so I can see the chat. Hello to everyone who has joined. Josh, it's good to see you again. And SB Success Factor is also here, so it's awesome to have you as well. So when we talk about writing things from scratch, I'm talking about your social media captions, your emails, your blog posts, your sales pages. Your answer now might be very different than your answer would have been 18 months ago. But when it comes to writing things from scratch, what's the sort of amount of time that you typically are spending, creating brand new things for your marketing rather than repurposing things that you have previously done. And follow-up question, have you ever sent the same email more than once? I would love to know the answer to this. Have you ever written an email that was so good that you were like, I absolutely am going to be sending that multiple times? Again, let me know in the chat. There's going to be a mix of answers here, right? Because if you're an online business owner and you sell services or courses and you've done launches, there's a really good chance you have sent the same email multiple times, because once you have drafted your sales page and created your emails, you might have sent the same email as part of the sales sequence, or you might have just tweaked it slightly as you've done like future launches. But a lot of the business owners that I have worked with are small business owners who sell products, or their services are sort of on a smaller scale. And the idea of an email newsletter is something that we send in real time every week. And so the idea of sending the same thing more than once to a group of people on your newsletter list or your mailing list for like weekly emails is something that a lot of people would be like, oh, I would not do that. It has to be fresh every single week. Awesome. I've never resent emails but plan to start. That's great news. By the end of this, you're going to feel so good about that decision. And then how do you feel about repurposing content? What does the idea of repurposing content feel like to you at the moment? And again, pop it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, do feel free again to add your comments to the chat, because I do see them and I'll come back to you on that as well. So some questions to get started. The key thing that we do want to drill into today's session is that repurposing content is not lazy. Let me just start presenting again, because tech, right? I only build software. Anyway, so repurposing your content is not a lazy approach to marketing. Repurposing your content is the logical end result of knowing who your ideal customer is. So if you understand who your ideal customer is, you will logically repurpose your content, because you understand that your marketing is for and about your customers. It is not about you. So when you understand and know who your customers are, it means that you know what their problems are, what they need to solve those problems, what they're interested in, what your customers are interested in, what needs they think that they have, because what they think about their situation might be very different than your expert opinion of what their situation is, and what their purchase triggers are, and how your business can help meet them at the point of that purchase trigger. All of those things, all of that knowledge, all of that understanding helps you to create valuable and timeless content for your audience, which you can then repurpose into different formats for your marketing channels. So we're going to talk about that a little bit there in a second, but I want to use an example here to help. And I'm going to use the idea of someone who is in the wedding industry, because it's a space where you could have physical products or digital products. You could be selling services. Like the wedding industry has got all kinds of different business models within it, but it is something that we can kind of understand. With the wedding industry, your ideal customer is only ever going to be an ideal customer for your business for anything from like 9 months to 3 or 4 years, depending on how long people are engaged for. So before that period of time, when they are like a relevant potential customer for your business, they are very, very, very early on in the customer journey. Like they might get married one day, right? But the audience of people who might get married one day is like vast. And that is not really your ideal customer. They're like a whole load of people who potentially at some point are going to move into a category where they then are like engaged, actively thinking about what they need to do for their wedding. When you sell a service or a product or something in the wedding industry, the gap that you have to bring people to the point of purchase is determined by how long people are engaged. So it might be 9 months up to like 4 or 5 years, depending on who your ideal customer is within that audience of people, right? Some people are going to have an ideal audience that have much shorter engagements, or you might have people who have got like a longer engagement. Those are some sort of niche things that you can understand about your specific group of people once your business has got some data coming through it. But the stages that people go through, regardless of trends, regardless of the things that are happening from a trend perspective is going to be similar. Like people will get engaged and then they'll have to I can't even remember. It's been so long since I got married that I can't even remember the things that we had to do. Set a date for the wedding, find a venue, do all of the things. Like there's a very literal, logical step and journey to go through to getting to the point where you are married, and there's like tasks and things that need to be done. So you can create timeless content that talks to people at each stage of that journey, and just switch out your visuals and the formatting of that content to be relevant to the current trends that are happening this year, or the trends that are happening next year. So that's one example. And it's nice because it's got like a linear kind of time attached to it, where you can see the sort of start point of someone getting engaged, the end point of them becoming married. Like they then might go on to recommend your business to their other friends who are getting married, but ultimately your relationship with that person is only going to be as long as that lasts, unless you extend your products and services. Like, you see photographers go into newborn photography because they've gone on to that next life stage where that customer who they were with for engagement and wedding, they can now book them for this next stage of their family. So when you're thinking about that in sort of a very literal time-based model, you can kind of understand that idea of the length of time somebody is going to be in your audience. Now, with things like let's think of an example like business coaching, right? Let's take a generic business coaching example. You might understand the specific time frame of business owner that you support in your business coaching services, and you might understand like how they get to where they are and where they go after they've worked with you, and you understand that time frame. But for that business owner, they are just in this like roller coaster ride of not exactly knowing what stage they're at and what happens next. So it is your responsibility in your marketing to guide them in a way that brings them to where they need to be to work with you, and then to work with them and have them, go on and continue to work with whoever they need to work with after they've finished working with you. So it isn't a time-based thing. It's not necessarily a measurable length of time, but you still have that same concept of like, at a certain point, somebody is qualified to work with your business, or they have all of the requisite pieces to make a decision to work with you or to buy from your business. And then potentially at a certain point, they might not work with you anymore. And that period of time could be 9 months, it could be 4 years, it could be 10 or 15 years. You might have, customers who stay with you for the duration of your life. And a lot of artists will see that with the idea of having collectors of your work, right? People who have collected your work from the early days, and now they're like your hardcore fans, and they've been, a customer of your business for a long period of time. So when you're thinking about who your customers are and you're understanding a little bit more about them, the valuable timeless content is relevant regardless of how trends change over time, and how visuals might change over time, and how the format and the delivery of that message change over time. And understanding the marketing message that is behind what you're doing and what your message is to your ideal customers, that is going to stay the same unless your business changes dramatically. But that core piece of information is likely to stay timeless and valuable. And the format, the frequency, and the delivery method of how you get that message out there, of how you deliver your marketing, is the thing that changes. And we see that in a variety of different ways, right? So the format could be that you deliver it via a live like I am now, rather than via an email. Or it could be that you create a TikTok reel instead of an Instagram caption. And the way that the internet is changing might impact how we change the format of our messaging as well, right? It's not just that we want to do it in a different way, it's that there might be external channels that change, that cause us to deliver things in a different format as well. Frequency, again, this is something where you might be saying a relatively similar thing to people over the course of let's say 4 weeks. You're saying similar things to people because you understand that the point at which they are in their journey right now, they need to hear that in a variety of different ways. Or it could be that you have decided to repurpose an email and you've put it into a sequence that lasts 6 months. So every 6 months, your email list are going to receive an email that is substantively the same email as they've had previously for anyone who's still on your list in that period of time. And then the method of your marketing. So like, how are you delivering it? How are you presenting it to people? How are they consuming it and engaging with it? So the message stays the same, and then the format and the delivery of it is the thing that changes. And this is going to then bring us to the example of my email from today. And I am going to use Marketing Magic to show you what this looks like. But this was really the flow. So a few years ago, I had my SEO with Minextra course, and during it, we were talking about creating blog content and keyword optimized content for your business so that you can get organic visibility and organic traffic via different platforms. So that's where that started. That then became my efficient marketing masterclass, which I taught for the first time, I think 4 years ago. And then I used the transcript of that as part of the structure of today's email to bring out some actionable things and to help me with repurposing today's email. And then now we have this live, which is you're watching right now. If you're watching this, you've seen this sort of iteration of it. And it's likely that you got the link from this live from this email. So you can kind of see the way that that has been repurposed. Now, I have not used word for word things because the way that I taught it in the SEO course, the way that it was delivered in the efficient marketing masterclass, like this was like a 90-minute masterclass. And then today's email has got, a few insights from like other areas of my experience since then. And then obviously now I'm explaining this to you. This isn't in the email. So it's showing like a level of like evolution, but ultimately the thing that I'm saying to people is the same message. So I'm going to just minimize this down, and we're going to look at what the workflow was like for this. And so I'm going to log into Marketing Magic. If you have not yet got Marketing Magic, you get a free trial, and you can use it to repurpose your content for free for 7 days. So I'm just going to log into my account here. And if you need the link, I'm just going to put that into the chat here. So let's do my Hey Minextra one. Marketingmagic.app. Oh, there we go. Sorry, that took me so long to type that. It's also taking a hot minute to post things. So let me do this. So we have got just a link there in the chat that I've pinned onto the video for anyone who has not yet got it. Most people are going to have definitely tried it at least once at this point who are joining me live. Okay, so brand profiles. This is like the dashboard. If you have not got an account yet, it will lead you through everything that you need to when you sign up for one, and it will give you a little tour. But let's talk about my repurposing. So I have got my brand set up here, Hey Minextra, and then the way that I did this was actually to go via transcript magic. So let me go over here. I used the add your raw text option. I selected Hey Minextra, and then I added the title of my transcript, and then I pasted the transcript here. And that's because I already had a Google document with a raw transcript from this session in my G Drive from a few years ago. So I added the title and I pasted my transcript here, and then clicked on add my transcript. And then now I've got all of these transcripts here, and it's the efficient marketing ecosystem at the bottom. So to repurpose my transcript, all I did was select the transcript and drop down. Let's do create marketing materials. And then I can click on create an email. That's going to think about it. And while it's thinking about it, I'm going to take you over into my little February document that I've had for my emails. So I knew that the theme was going to be Ick-Free content repurposing. And I wrote some questions to begin with. So this is stuff that I wrote from scratch. Let me highlight for the sake of the video. This is stuff that I wrote as a hook myself, because I love writing. I love copywriting. I really enjoy writing an email. So for me, when I repurpose things, I always enjoy a little bit of creative space to like draft something. So that's stuff that I wrote from scratch. And I'm going to say that that also was written from scratch as well, just for the sake of being like totally transparent here. And then the thought behind all of this is the same fundamental concept that I have taught for a number of years, which is this message here. This is the core message, right? Repurposing your content is the most logical way to approach your marketing as a small business owner, because marketing is about your customers, not you, and your creative energy is better spent in the money-making areas of your business and the money-making activities of your business. So when I wrote all of this, I did write it, but it was drawing on the experience and the teaching that I have done elsewhere. And then the bit that is totally repurposed from my workshop are these sections here in terms of actual content. So for me, I'm always going to be tweaking things because I can't help myself. I just can't help myself. But I had a really good chunk of stuff that was specifically taken from the like 90-minute workshop outline. And let me just give me all the tools here. Let me show you the specific process that I went through as I was like reviewing this transcript to repurpose as well. So with the transcript magic tool, you can also, you know, it doesn't need to be just an audio transcript. You can use the outline of a course or anything that you have got written basically down. But the extract key quotes I love because it will just give some good sound bites. So let me skim. Okay, so here we go. Efficient marketing is about focusing on outcomes and understanding what moves the needle for your business. Efficient marketing is about focusing on quality engagement rather than quantity of posts. And understanding your audience's needs and questions helps inform your content creation strategy. So when we are looking at like the key quotes, there are sound bites here that can make a really good starting point for your content, like whatever it is that you're working on. And for me, it really was looking at this idea of repurposing and looking at your like the fact that the message stays the same, but the reformatting of it is how we repurpose effectively, and that your customers need you to so this was like pulled from the key quotes, I think, earlier as well. But repurposing your content being the logical end result of knowing your customers and what their problems are is all like fundamental to this overarching piece of content. So I think I also generated a blog post. This was earlier today. Created an email, and then for the action step, I created a checklist or process because I wanted to have the action points of the transcript pulled out so that I could leave the email at the end of the email. I wanted to provide people with like the actionable things that they could take as a next step if they want to repurpose a piece of content, and just sort of look at ways that you can actively do that in your business without it being incredibly long. So that's thinking about it. But what I ended up with were 6 key things here. If I go down, this checklist has given me like streamlining your marketing efforts. There are so many. This could be its own email, but it really has pulled out like, 20 different things that are sort of principles of repurposing your content. And I pulled 6 out because they kind of summarize the rest of them in a way that I was like, that makes a good email. But the pulling out the like actionable things there helped me to create an email that was ultimately going to be actively helpful to someone's workflow this week, instead of it just being like conceptually, you shouldn't feel bad about repurposing your content, which would have been a fine email, but it's not really my style. So these are the key quotes that I also copied and pasted into this document. And so here we go. Different channels have different formats. Like these key quotes are all things that I was like, oh, I remember that I said that. This is where I'm going to put that into this email. And then this was the blog post that it generated as well. So the power of repurposing and maximizing your content's impact. So it's got an introduction and then different sections. And I actually didn't use that at all. I just was having a fun time. So if we just go back over to the checklist or process, we've got, I've created that again, and this time it's given me 15 things instead of 20, and it's like slightly shorter. Each thing is slightly shorter. It's ultimately the same content because it's based on the same transcript, right? But that is how I sort of pulled it together and used it to send out my email today. So that was the workflow behind it, and I would say like the whole thing took me probably 25 minutes. It was not very long. And that included like going and finding the transcript and uploading the transcript to my Marketing Magic account. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to do Ick-Free content repurposing. And then I was like, if I don't repurpose a piece of content for this, then am I even listening to my own advice? So the reason that I wanted to repurpose a piece of content to send it was because I wanted to make the point that like, you can repurpose content all the time. And here I am talking to you about repurposing content with a piece of content that I have repurposed. So that is the sort of workflow for that. Again, if you've got any questions about this like workflow specifically or anything, pop them in the chat and I will be in the chat with questions very soon. So this next section is just summarizing those 6 things that I repurposed from my transcript into my email. And now I'm going to explain them to you on video because quite a lot of people who get my emails prefer to have audio or video content with the same stuff. And I'm going to add to it. Don't worry. So first things first is knowing what your goals are before you start repurposing your content. So if you understand what actions you want people to take and what it is that you're selling to people, like what do you want them to buy, then you are going to know who you're selling it to, and it's going to make it a lot easier to prioritize which pieces of content you should be using and focusing your creative energy on. And once you know what your goals are, you do know who your audience is, because if you have a course or a program or a service or a product that you're selling, you need to understand who is on the other side of that transaction and what they want to get out of it. And they are going to have a whole lot of, stuff that they are hoping for that is you're not privy to. You can make some educated guesses about it. But knowing who your customers are, knowing what they're interested in, understanding what their problems are, the questions that they're asking, all of those things makes it then really, really easy to create valuable content that speaks to those specific things. When you are creating content, it is never, ever needs to be about you and what you ate for breakfast and you having an interesting life or you being an extroverted personality influencer. It is great if that is something that you enjoy doing, but your business fundamentally is about how you serve your customers. And sometimes you might be doing that through your own creative expression, through your artistic processes, or through your services, whatever it is that you're doing. But ultimately, if you can't make your customers understand why they need it, then why do you feel entitled to their money? That's the question that we should be asking. It's like, we don't just get to have people buy our stuff because we think it's cool. Like, we need to be able to communicate to our customers, like, this is why this is helpful. This is why this solves your problem. This is why we think this is great. Here it is. And then they have the option to say yes or no because they are, adults. You shouldn't be doing business with minors, but they're adults who have their own money and they can make a, adult decision as to whether they think that you've made your case in a way that fits in with their goals and lives. So if you're not sure who your customers are and you're like, that's fine, but that sounds really overwhelming, Customer Magic in Marketing Magic is going to be a helpful tool to use here. So if I choose my brand there from the drop down, I'm going to just select a couple of things here just to give you like, I've got hiccups because I talk too quickly. Let's do a few things here. And then we're going to talk through them. And I'm going to talk about how you can make content decisions based out of them. So let's also do outcomes and results. So you can, use any or all. So things that my ideal customers are going to be interested in: small business growth, marketing strategies, generative AI applications, marketing automation tools, search engine optimization techniques, organic marketing methods, online course offerings, marketing resources, digital tools for business growth. Now, I obviously have Marketing Magic. If I was focused on getting new customers into Marketing Magic, but I decided to focus on search engine optimization techniques as my core content, that is not aligned with the topic of this. Like, it is a subcategory because we've got SEO Magic in here that helps you create your SEO titles and meta descriptions and all that good stuff and keyword research and things. But ultimately, it's not as closely aligned to people like searching for results here. Like the things that are going to be more particularly pertinent might be small business growth, marketing automation, marketing resources, and generative AI, right? So I can still talk about SEO, which I do because I've got my upcoming like SEO in a weekend course in April. But ultimately, if I've got like a limited amount of time and resource, and I'm wanting people to know more about marketing magic, the problems that I'm talking about are not necessarily only going to be related to search engine optimization. So goals and desires: increase brand awareness and visibility online, improve search engine rankings, generate leads and conversions, enhance customer engagement. Desires: to see a significant growth in their online presence and customer base, right? So we're seeing some insights here as to what people might want to achieve in their lives, and I can then connect it to selling marketing magic. What specific outcomes and results are people looking for? Like, how can I, as Maneksha, with Marketing Magic and my Hey Maneksha marketing brand, help people increase their website traffic? And am I demonstrating that people are going to get that outcome when they work with me in my marketing? Is that something that I'm helping them to achieve through my marketing content as well as through my paid offerings? So it can just really help us to connect the dots between where we are and what we're doing and where our customers want to be and what their desired outcomes are, because we might help them do something like, so for instance, I can help people increase their website traffic. But if all I talk about all the time is like technical SEO and how to optimize your website's like schema structure, people do not know that what I'm talking about helps them with the outcome that they're looking for. So I know that it does because I know about SEO and I know what the impact of that is. But if I get bogged down in the jargon and talking about technical SEO and schema, what is actually going to happen for my audience is they're going to feel really overwhelmed and they're going to tune out because I have made them feel overwhelmed and they don't even know the first thing about their, technical SEO, let alone getting to the point of like optimizing data structures behind the scenes. So when we are talking about the things that we do, me talking about helping people increase their website traffic is immediately going to help people feel like, oh, that is what I want to do. And they're more receptive then to me saying, so technical SEO might feel overwhelming, but it's actually straightforward. Here are the things that you need to do. It's going to feel a lot easier for my specific audience. So that's one example of how your message can be honed when you understand a bit more about who your customers are. And ultimately, increasing your website traffic is a goal that my audience has had since I first started doing courses and teaching SEO in like 2017, 2018, around that time. And before that, it's what my clients wanted, for like 12 years or something. So when we're thinking through the sort of idea of like a goal, it's something that is often going to be relatively timeless. It's just that the way that we do SEO today is very different to how I did SEO back in 2005. Pains and struggles, again, like what are the things that are like perceived challenges, things that you can help people get a quick win for? How can you just demonstrate that you understand what people are dealing with? Needs. This is like a little bit more specific to actual tangible outcomes, and then different objections that people might have as well. And so this tool in Marketing Magic is designed to help you sort of increase the empathy that you have in your marketing and address your customers' problems as they see it rather than as you see it from your side of things. So let's go back here. So create valuable content, right? I've kind of addressed that with this sort of SEO example. It is valuable to have a blog post about schema on your website and the use of structured data, but it's not necessarily valuable to my ideal customers because they are not necessarily going to engage with it based on where they are now to where they want to be. So what are the steps of content that need to happen in between that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Understanding how important something is or the outcome and being able to demonstrate like the benefit that you have if you engage with it is more likely to help people stick with it when it gets uncomfortable. So when it like the content seems overwhelming or when it is costs more than you want to spend on things. Like whatever the discomfort point is, if you have established the importance and need for it with your content elsewhere and you've built that trust, that is what helps people to say, oh, this, I can actually do this. This is great. This is what I need. So knowing who your customers are informs the way that you create content and deliver value to your customers. And you can organize it around the themes that you have in your business and use, your current goals to inform the starting point for that as well. So again, if I go back to knowing what my goal is for getting more people to find out about marketing magic, it would not be a good idea for me to do a whole lot of content about SEO this week because it's not necessarily connected to my outcome goal. So when you're thinking about what the outcome is you want from people, that helps you to filter down and say, okay, this is the blog post that I'm going to write for this particular week. Fourthly, lean into your strengths. If you enjoy writing, focus on writing blog posts and writing emails. Don't make yourself go live on StreamYard to a whole load of people that you can't see if you don't feel comfortable doing it. If you try to force yourself to do marketing via formats and channels that you're not comfortable with, you will procrastinate doing your marketing and your business will not grow. The best marketing is marketing that you are doing. And so if you are enjoying a certain thing more than others, start with that and just lean into that as the starting point and repurpose from there. So starting with visuals and things that are sort of more interesting visually on platforms that are more like social based or YouTube is a great way to start. You do need to repurpose that into like text-based content elsewhere as well, just to really make the most of that. But focusing on the one thing that you enjoy to begin with gets the ball rolling and it makes it feel a lot easier to repurpose that content onto the channels that you use in your business. So once you've got that core content, where else do you want to connect with your ideal audience? If you've got a blog post, where else do you want to connect with your audience? If you have an Instagram account and you use Instagram, maybe you want to repurpose it into some carousel posts or, a caption that goes alongside an image. But the knowledge of like the channels that you're showing up on, once you've actually created that core piece of content is going to help to make it feel less overwhelming for the channels where you might typically procrastinate a little bit more on certain things. So sorry if you can hear that noise in the background. I don't know what it is. Dog/husband chaos, but there is noise that slightly distracted me there. And if you heard that come through, then that's what distracted me. And then the last thing is to repeat yourself in a good way. So repeating yourself gets a bad rap, right? You're like, don't nag me. I don't need to know it. But you can share similar content across different channels because the chances of people in your audience seeing every single version of that on every single channel are so slim. Like it's almost inevitable that people are going to miss all of the things. Like they're more likely to miss everything than see everything. And that might seem depressing, but I want it to be reassuring because it means that you can confidently post substantively similar content across your marketing channels and know that that message isn't going to come across as being incredibly repetitive. Like you're still here watching this video, even though I've sent an email out that has substantively similar content, but you're here because you know that I'm going to answer questions, that I'll go off on a tangent, and that I'm going to give you additional format-based stuff for video that I can't do via email. So when you're repeating yourself, it's not a negative thing. It's not a lazy thing. It is just a natural, it's like natural that you're going to repeat some elements, but you're also probably going to add fresh elements in. Like if I turn this into an Instagram carousel, there are visuals there that have not been included elsewhere. So there's always going to be something that is unique about a platform just in the fact that you've repurposed it, and you have to reformat it as you go. So by the time you get to all of that, you have Ick-Free content that is Ick-Free fundamentally because it talks to your customers about what they need. And the ick that we often feel is our own discomfort with feeling like we're repeating ourselves or feeling like we're having to talk about ourselves too much. For those of you who are more introverted, among us. The ick is often us overthinking things rather than our customers feeling like we're overdoing it or similar. But if we've got content that is fundamentally aligned with what our business does, who our customers are, and what it is that we are putting out into the world, then repurposing is the thing that is going to help you to spend more time in your paid zone of genius, instead of just constantly creating free content that just gets lost in an algorithm somewhere. Because when you're creating Instagram posts, like what percentage of your audience is seeing that? So again, it's not to be depressing. It's not to be like, oh, your content's never going to get seen, so just post the same thing. It's really not about that at all. It's about how we leverage the limited time and energy resources that we have and make the most of it across multiple channels that we're using for visibility. And that brings us to our question time. So let me minimize this and hop over into the chat. So this is such a great question. So what percentage of content should one aim to repurpose versus create fresh or new? I will always use like a customer journey approach to this, where I want to feel confident that I have got, let's say, for marketing magic, right? No, let's do SEO on a weekend. It's simpler. So SEO, right? I've got an SEO course. If I sell an SEO course or an SEO service, I want to know that I have got content that is going to bring people through the customer journey to that course. So for me, I will always start with written content. So I'll start with like a blog post, for instance. And from that point, I will repurpose. So let's say for my SEO in a weekend course, I might have ultimately 8 to 12 blog posts, and I'm just creating a new blog post each week. And then I'm repurposing all of my other content that week from that one blog post. So you don't need to have, it's not a case of saying like 50 weeks of the year, you're not creating any new content at all. And 2 weeks of the year, you're creating fresh content. You can create fresh content. And especially if you're a newer business owner or you don't have like a backlog of topically relevant information, you can create a blog post, for instance, each week, and then just repurpose that into the rest of your content. So it's normal that it's going to take you, it would normally take you like, let's say, an hour to create a new piece of content that is 500 or 600 words long. If you're using AI help as well, like if you're creating something brand new from absolute scratch, an hour is the minimum. For me today, I repurposed my email, and then I've obviously also done this video. I've gotten like 2 extra pieces of content out of the 25 minutes that I spent repurposing earlier. So that's what, like 12 and a half minutes a piece. So how much time you should spend is, so one of the things that they will that like people talk about in marketing strategy is you need to spend either time or money to grow your audience, right? If you have money to spend on ads, you can grow your audience with very little content. You can send people to one lead magnet, into one sales sequence, and sell one thing. And you can do that, and you can just pour the whole load of money into ads, and that's going to help you grow that. If you don't have a whole lot of money to spend on ads, then the thing that you need to do is spend your time creating content. And so if I was going to sell SEO in a weekend, as an example, the thing that I would be doing is spending my time creating like 8 to 12 blog posts that all cover different angles of the customer journey for someone who was interested in SEO in a weekend, and then publishing that out into different formats on social channels to generate like interest and buzz around that topic, because I don't have money to spend on ads, but I want to get content out there, make my visibility known, and get as many people through to my website as possible. So it's not a totally straightforward answer in that it's like spend 30 minutes per week repurposing content and 2 hours per month creating fresh, brand new content. It really depends on what your capacity looks like. And what I will say is that if you go over to the marketing routine builder that I demoed last week on our Marketing Monday, this will give you some timeframes based on what your channels of focus are. And you can use that that is a little bit more bespoke to your actual resources that you have available, rather than me just giving you sort of generic information on this. Josh, what form does the audio file need to be to use the transcription program? You can just upload an MP3 file. So just, MP3, MP4 as well, like any audio file basically should work. So you just need to upload it, wait for it to finish uploading, hit the upload button. So basically when you attach the file, it'll just think about it for a little minute with the little spinny button while the file actually uploads. And then when you hit save, it will save it to your account with your title and everything. So yeah, mp3, mp4.wav. Cool. No other questions coming through on the chat for today. Everyone's a little bit quieter. But obviously, if you're watching the replay and you do have anything that you want to ask, add it into the chat and I will see it and get back to you. Ultimately, more efficiency in your marketing is going to free up your time and energy to do other things. So the idea of repurposing your content is like, are you able to answer the question that a potential customer would have at this stage of the journey? Yes. How are they getting there? And just understanding like how you're communicating with people at each stage. So many people just create their sales page and then some like social media posts that point people to a sales page and kind of forget that there's a whole lot of questions and things that happen in between those things. So when it comes to like actually making practical decisions about how much time to create something from scratch versus repurposing something, I might do a future Marketing Monday on that looks at a more specific example, because I also am aware that when I'm using examples that are related to my business, like it's a bit meta because my business is marketing and I'm talking about repurposing content for my job. So we can use an example from like a small business owner outside of the service provision industry, and also for some different examples elsewhere as well. There is a like there is a wider issue for people who work in more trend driven industries. So I'm specifically thinking about the example that we did last week for a nail salon, right? You have got an amount of your content that is visual and is specifically visual because of the way that trends are. And so there are things that people are going to have questions about that are timeless, but there's also always going to be a need for you to be taking photographs of nails that you've done or of the like latest things, because otherwise you can end up with things looking quite dated. But that's a conversation for another time as well, probably as well. Awesome. I volunteered to be in the hot seat for that. Cool. Hot seats are a good idea. I will get back to you on that one, but I like the idea of doing some hot seats. Cool. Normally, Marketing Mondays are like a 30-minute thing that I used to do at lunchtime, but I moved them to evening UK time because loads of people in my audience now are in North American time zones. And I am obviously, if I'm doing things at lunchtime in the UK, that is so early in the morning for you. So now that they're at 7 o'clock on a Monday, I've gotten into a habit of them being slightly longer. They were meant to be half an hour. And I guess like the actual content was about half an hour. And then there's just been like a bit of extra demo and chat there as well. But do let me know if you'd prefer me to stick to a sharp half hour. I will focus for future Mondays. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you with that. That's been our Ick-Free content repurposing session for today. If you, the other thing that I will show you before I go is seeing as we're talking about content repurposing, I showed you the transcript magic, but in my email I also mentioned, or in the Marketing Magic customer like support call section, I mentioned about the content repurposer. So let me show you this. Let's go back up here, and we're going to let's just copy and paste this email. I'm going to do that, and then I'm just going to paste this in here. And I'm going to take my email. There we go. So that's the brand. And then what do I want to create? I want to create a social media post. So that's my email. And then I have just pasted that in there, and I can click on repurpose. It is going to have a little think about it. And then we have now got a social media post there. So I can copy and paste that out, or I can send it to my Google or my Notion. I've copied it. I'm going to put it here. Here we go. And I'm just going to paste this here. So I'm always going to remove, hey there, business owners. And then now this is a social media post that is based on Marketing Monday. So you might see this appear, or a version of this appear on my marketing social channels, just to close the circle of having repurposed the content everywhere. But you can do that. You can also repurpose it into like a blog post, a cheat sheet, or a checklist. Blog post is going to take a bit longer because it's a long piece of content. So let's do a cheat sheet, and we're just going to click on repurpose at the bottom, and this will take that piece of content and repurpose it into a checklist, all being well. We'll see what happens in a second when it's finished processing. Here we go. So repurposing your content cheat sheet. And then we've got a little bit of a summary at the top, and then we've got how to implement your Ick-Free marketing. So it has just made it sort of a short and actionable summary that you could turn into a PDF or something, make it look pretty in Canva, and you've got a really good resource there as well. So the content repurpose tool is really good for just, pasting in, and you could paste in a sales page of a product, right? And then create an email or a social media post out of your sales page. So there's different things that you can do with the content repurposer that are just going to give you content to share more about your products, your services, what it is you do. Put a blog post in there, put a sales page in there, live your best life repurposing things instead of writing everything from scratch all the time. Great. So that's it. I'm glad that I remembered to do the content repurposer, because that would have woken me up at 3 a.m. Next week, we will have another Marketing Monday, and I will let you know what the topic of that is soon, because I did not have a specific plan for next week. I've been responding a little bit to the questions and the sort of themes that I've seen coming up in the conversations that I've been having with people. But as always, if there is something specific that you would like me to cover, you can let me know, and I'm more than happy to tackle it in a future episode. So enjoy the rest of your week, and I'd love to hear what content you decide to repurpose this week. So if you do repurpose something, tag me, let me know, and get off the hamster wheel, and I will see you next Monday.